one of the things that we do have at the back of our mind, actually, let me show you what we're kind of thinking about here for, but instead of actually putting a canvas top on it, or a plastic top on it, we're actually looking in, sort of look really carefully, we've got more of a mesh wire here. And we would use a vinyl-coated welded wire, which would not harm the bird's talons or its feet. It would give lots and lots and lots of light to the pen itself. And on the far end of it, we actually have a little shed kind of building. And the shed itself would be used actually for more training purposes. We make sure that there'd be a door opening into the pen so that the bird can fly in and out. Probably for the training purposes, most of the feeding would occur in there. There'd be a perch inside that little outbuilding, a curtain or door that would close once the bird's in there. Because if we have to train the bird in a large flight pen like this, it could be very difficult. If he's not willing that day, he's going to be all over the place, and that's not going to be a really good thing. So the goal is actually to get him glove trained and ready for programs, ready for the public before he actually goes in here. And so that could take probably the same amount of time it would take us to build this thing. So that's what the goal is anyway.
What are the projected dimensions?
Dimensions, we're looking at approximately 60 feet long by somewhere between 20 to 30 feet wide. And those are sort of specified by the companies that make these buildings. And most of them tend to be in the Midwest. I don't know why there's a lot of companies that are building these days. The nice thing is that there's all kinds of different functions for them, and so many people are building these things these days simply because they're a more affordable means of storing cars outside, or they use these in the poultry industry or the swine industry. So they're quite available, which is great. There's lots of competition for them. So I'm hoping we can get a decent deal on the structure. We'd probably build or buy just the hoops themselves. We'd buy the welded wire separately, and in the bottom, I've cut it in as plywood right now. That might be something like a rock wall or something at the bottom. There'd be several perches throughout this thing. Give the bird an opportunity to find out exactly where it wants to be in the whole structure, and then we could set up the webcams appropriately. And we're also, one of the things we're considering as well is that we have a water garden or water nursery that we have worked with in the past as well. So if we can put a small natural inset pool that we are able to drain and such, then that would be something that we could put live fish or something in for more enrichment purposes.
Please bear in mind the word was considering. I
Yeah.
don't want Dave's considerations to end up being interpreted as promises.
What is the height of it?
Height would, for something that's 30 feet wide, that's approximately 16 feet high in the center. Yeah.
So that's the same height as our
In
cube.
lieu of last winter's snow, 3 foot, 3 foot, 3 foot, what would this, have you thought about the snow load capability of the chain link fence and those, these things?
Yeah, and there were, I didn't actually draw these things in here, but there would actually be crossbars going across these just for support. Plus the fact that it's chain link, snow, if it curved and such, we could probably get it off fairly easily. We do have other structures with this kind of material on the top and a flat roof, and we haven't had any problems with that before. But that's something that we've always considered. The other thing is we'll probably have to put a solid roof on a couple of these so that the bird can get out of the weather.
Where are the tree perches?
Pardon me?
Where are the perches for him? The trees that are going to be in there.
There will be
Yeah, she's smoking crack. This is an artist's rendition. We talked about this. Should we show them pictures? You know how they can be. These plans are under discussion. They are under consideration, and we're not only collecting bids, but we're also looking at these various issues.
And you're recording this, right?
That's why the disclaimer is being said. Dave will have to forgive me for interrupting, but I also know that he's too nice to get in your face about it. I am not getting emails at home at midnight on a Saturday night. What you said.
So that's one of the designs that we're looking at right now. Consider it, good one, yes. And some of the perches that we've been working with lately lately have been swinging perches. So you could actually attach, in this kind of setting, or if it's a regular square pen, we could actually put it pulleys. We could actually raise the height of these perches as well. When the bird goes and lands on it, it's more like a natural branch. They do some swinging, and it also keeps their weight in check as well in captivity, because as they're sitting there and they're constantly moving, they're using all kinds of muscles and actually kind of physically working while sitting on a branch. So there'll be some static perches as well, for sure. But
And we can move them around for part of this
Exactly.
enrichment stimulation.
yeah, yeah.
I have another question. You were talking about Junior trying to build a nest.
Mhm.
Have you ever considered putting a three-pronged structure in there so it could actually build one?
I think what we've actually done is there is sort of a triangle kind of set up between the walls and the perch right now, and by setting a couple of large branches in between, he can actually build things up top.
The golden eagle's nest on the ground.
Any other questions?
It was brought up that if this is Buddy's cage, if it's needed, he will, and this is on the record, right, he will be moved to another cage, so this is going to be shared.
The plan would be, this would be his regular cage, but we're designing it so that if we do need to move him to another space temporarily for another bird that needs some exercise for a couple of weeks and then we can get him out of there, then yes, we will
And
definitely
he's
consider
smart
those
enough
kinds
to
of
know
things.
it's
He'll share.
Yeah.
We're just telling he's going to camp.
The more time he actually becomes, spends on the glove and becomes like a working education bird, I mean, he'll be spending time in all kinds of different places. I mean, from travel cages to temporary cages to his full flight pen. So it'll be a nice mix of things around, and there's nothing to say that we couldn't put Junior here for a week of flying back and forth. So there's lots of different options. We're trying to build a pen that can be used for as many species as possible. But this will be the primary pen we're buying.
You have a model of the one that you said the nestlings will be outside and water.
Yeah, so this one actually has a sort of a tower kind of situation on top where we could actually put nested eagles in the structure. And again, artist rendition. You can see it has a big window going in the inside of the pen over here. So it could be opened up so that the birds could branch naturally outside of this nesting structure and then flying out and down to the pen over here. We do have an L-shaped one here already, so, and the actual problem is actually the location of this pen on a hill. We're running up and down the hill, we're actually running parallel to the grade, so we don't have room for another L-shaped one.
Yeah, and the thing to keep in mind is the primary purpose of the pen under consideration is that we want you to be able to see it when you come. And so if this particular one is about 85 feet long, and if we put one like this out here and he chose to sit at the other end, you'd be making the trip to look at a speck. And so that's a real different, and this is also designed specifically to be a rehab cage. And so it's not designed around environmental enrichment, it's not designed around aesthetics, it's designed around pure utility to create a confined space in which to make these birds fly. And so it's not going to be pretty. I mean, it'll be functional, that's it. Whereas the cage that we're talking about with a potential for a water feature, we are designing a cage that is going to be an exhibit cage. We are not an exhibit facility, and I will reiterate that. But we know we're going to have him. We know he's going to outlive probably at least me, unless he fights me or something. Or unless his fan club gets out of hand. No, seriously, they're very well. They're real different functions, and so at the risk of invoking Frank Lloyd Wright, I mean the form follows the function, and the function of the cage we'll be talking about today is strictly for adequate space for exercise, appropriate space for viewing, and versatile space that can be shifted around to keep him stimulated over the next 35 years so that he doesn't get bored and he doesn't develop repetitive motion behaviors. So, and which is a real issue with cage animals. You've heard of the phrase cage crazy. Well, that's the tigers that pace back and forth.